So what are the learning objectives of today's lesson? We are going to study about stimuli and receptors. We are going to study about the tropic movement or the tropism and the nastic movement or the nasties. So these are the three things we are going to study today. So dear students, you need to subscribe to my channel to get more updates, whatever I am posting as per your curriculum. So this is the seventh chapter of your ICSEI book. So if you want to know more about the next upcoming lessons, you need to subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned, stay updated with my videos which I am regularly posting as per your curriculum. So let us start with today's episode of Chemical Coordination Part 2, where we are going to study about tropic movement and nastic movement. Now first we should know about what are stimuli and receptors. So let us see what is a stimuli and what are receptors. So any change in the environment to which an organism is responding. So whether there is light, temperature, heat, whatever changes are there in the environment and an organism is responding or reacting to that, that is called the stimulus, and the plural is called stimuli. So if you put your hand on a hot water or on a hot surface, you will try to remove your hand from that. So that external change in environment is the stimuli. So in case of plants also the same thing is there. So any change in the environment to which an organism is responding or reacting is called the stimuli. Now stimuli are detected by a group of cells. So group of cells are there in your body and they are called receptors. Okay, so in your body, like in our skin, eyes, ears, nose and tongue, it contains different receptors. So throughout our body we are having different receptors. So like animals, plants also, they respond to certain stimuli. So this is an example of animals, like through our skin, eyes, ears, nose and tongue, they contain different receptors. So like that we can say that plants are also having several receptors in their body through which they react. So though plants are not having a direct nervous system in their body, but they are reacting through the help of plant growth regulators. So that is what we have studied in the previous class. So if you have not yet gone through that class, I am putting the link above, in the IE link above, and as well as in the description box below I'll put the link, so that go through that, what are plant growth regulators. So thus they are responding to stimuli in their own characteristic property, in their own characteristic way. So plants are having movements in response to stimuli, and that can be carried out in two types of movement. So what are the two types of movement? We will see now then. So here comes the types of movement in plants. So what are the two types of movements in plants? First one is the tropic movement and the second one is the nastic movement. So types of tropical movements in plants, they are being divided into 5 more subdivisions. So what are they? They are, first one is phototropism, second one is geotropism, third one is hydrotropism, fourth one is chemotropism, and last one is thigmotropism. So this all we will study in details, these 5 types of tropic movement. So these are the main 5 types of tropical movements in plants. Let us move into details. Now first one is the phototropism. So what is phototropism? Phototropism is the growth or the movement in orientation of a plant part in response to light is called phototropism. So here the movement of the plant towards the light. Now here this is the light source and the plant is moving towards the light source. That is, the shoot bends towards the light. So this is a movement like if you place a sunflower near a window, you will see that the sunflower is always moving towards the sunlight. So that is why it's called sunflower, and that is called the phototropism. Now if a plant, we always know that the shoot is always moving towards the light and the root is moving away from the light. So it is moving away from the light. So this one is positive phototropism and this one is negative phototropism. So anything which is moving towards the light is called positive phototropism, and which is moving away from the light is called negative phototropism. Is it clear to everyone? Now let us see what we are having in the next one. Now here we are going to discuss about the positive and the negative phototropism in details. Now if a plant shoot, we have told in the previous one also, is moving towards the source of light, then it shows positive phototropism. See, the shoot is moving towards the source of light. It is called positive phototropism. And you can see the root, it is moving away from the source of light. So if a plant part like the root which moves away from the light, then it is called negative phototropism. Now phototropic movements are controlled by regulatory chemicals called the auxins. So if you have not yet gone through the previous episode of my teachings, please go through that, where I have told you, discussed about the role of auxins in this phototropic movement with detailed diagram, with how the auxins are controlling the phototropic movement. In that lesson I have completely discussed in that lesson, so I'm not going to discuss in details now. So please go through that. I am putting the link there in the description box. Go through that role of auxins in the phototropic movement of plants. So with example, with diagram, I have shown that. Now we will move on to the next one. Now here comes geotropism. So geo, as the name suggests, the growth movement of the plant in response to the gravitational force. So anything related to the earth gravitational pull is geo. So geotropism means the growth movement of the plant part in response to the gravitational force of the earth is called geotropism. Now roots, they show positive geotropism and it grows in the same way in the direction of the gravity, while the shoot, they show negative geotropic movements and grows against the force of gravity. Is it clear? So the shoot here is negatively geotropic, it is moving against the force of gravity, whereas the root is always positively geotropic, it is moving towards the force of gravity. So responses towards it is positively geotropic, away is negatively geotropic. Is it clear? Now whenever you are studying these geotropism, phototropism and all, just try to remember this diagram. So whenever you remember the diagrams, it is very easy lesson. You can write the definitions also. So what is positive geotropism, what is negative geotropism, it's very easy. So now we will move on to the next one. So this is hydrotropism. So as the name hydro suggests, it is something related to water. So hydro, the growth of plant parts towards the water or the moisture is called hydrotropism. So the root always grows towards water, therefore they are positively hydrotropic. So if you see, there is a layer of water down under the earth, so we can say that high moisture content is there in water. So root is always growing towards the water. Okay, and the shoot is always growing away from the water. So the shoot, we can say, is negatively hydrotropic and the root is always positively hydrotropic. So here also you can see that if you place a porous spot in the plant, near the plant pot only, a porous spot is there and the moisture content of this mud or soil is more than this soil part. So the root will move to this part. Okay, because the root are always positively hydrotropic. Okay, the roots of the plants growing in humid regions also, they bend towards the higher relative humidity. Now here you see in this part of the soil, the relative humidity is lesser than this part because there is a porous water pot kept in that part. So the water has become more humid in this part, more moisture laden in this part. So the roots are bending towards that pot of water, porous pot of water. Now we will move on to the next one. Now chemotropism. So chemo, as the name suggests, chemo, anything related to chemical will be chemotropism. So movement in response to chemicals, the growth or movement of a plant which is due to a chemical stimuli is called chemotropism. So how can we give an example of that? Like we can say that the pollen tube which is growing towards the style, ovules as in response to certain chemical secretions from the stigma. So you can see that the pollen grains through the pollen tube, they are moving down. Okay, so this is the pollen tube and this pollens, they are moving down this towards the stigma because there are some chemical secretions here. So these chemical secretions are attracting the pollen through the pollen tube towards the stigma. Okay, so from this stigma region, the secretion of chemicals is happening. So that reason the pollen tubes are leading towards the stigma. And when the plant grows towards chemical stimuli, it is called positive chemotropism. And if it is growing away from the chemicals, it is called negative chemotropism. So when the plant is growing towards the chemical, it is called positive chemotropism, and when it is going away from the chemical, it is called the negative chemotropism. So what is thigmotropism now? We can say thigmotropism, what is it? The growth movement of a plant part, any part of the plant in response to touch of an object is called thigmotropism. So how we can describe this? Now I have taken an example of a plant tendril. So When the supporting organ, it is touching a support. Now suppose a plant tendril is touching a stick or another plant support, it results in coiling. So if you have seen a tendril taking a support of a stick or another plant, you have seen that the tendril will coil and it will try to catch hold of the object and lighten its hold. Now for example, we can say that the tendrils of plants, such as we can say sweet pea or vines, they grow towards, always they are growing towards the stick or the support, and if you are touching it and winding it around that support, it will tightly hold that support. So we can say that roots have a negative touch response, that is, they always feel as an object they are moving, they are growing away from it. So this allows the root to grow through the soil with minimum resistance. So the roots, they are actually having a negative touch pressure. That is what it means. It is that they are, when they feel an object, they move away. So suppose if you touch the root, if the root is touching an object, stick or a pebble or any object they touch through, they try to move away from it. So this property, what it helps to, it doesn't allow it to stick to that object, it is allowing it to go through the soil with minimum resistance. So whatever particle, whatever object it is touching, it is trying to move away the object, and this property allows the root to go through the soil with the minimum resistance. So this is how we have completed this tropic movement. So 5 types of tropic movement: phototropism, hydrotropism, geotropism, chemotropism, and this last one was thigmotropism. Now we will move on to the next part, that is the nastic movements or nasties. Now here comes the nastic movement. So what are nastic movements or nasties? The movement of a plant in response to an external stimuli when the direction of response is not oriented with respect to the direction of the stimulus is called the nastic movement. So the plant in response to an external stimuli when the direction of response is not obtained with respect to the direction of the stimuli. So we can say that it is not the response of the plant or anything, it's not related to the direction of the stimuli. Like in phototropic movement, we have seen that the plant will bend towards the light. But here it's not like that. Its response is different. It's not direction related. It is non-directional movement. Now what is here? The curvature so produced in these types of movement is because of the diffuse stimuli and affects the whole plant body uniformly. So it is not affecting one part, not the root, not the shoot, not like that. It is affecting the whole plant uniformly. Now nastic movements, they are always temporary. And whenever you remove the stimuli, these movements will go. So they come back to their original position. So nastic movements are temporary movements, and the plants, they revert back after the removal of the stimuli. They come back to the normal positions. Is it clear? Now we will move on to the types of nastic movements. Now types of nastic movement, there are 2 types of nastic movement. First one is photonasty and second one is thigmonasty. So let us move into details of this nastic movement. Now thigmonasty, what is thigmonasty? So when the non-directional movement of a plant is in response to touch. So it is in response to touch. It is called thigmonasty. Example, we can say, take the example of movement of touch-me-not plant. So when you are touching the leaves of this touch-me-not, we know that they try to fold all the leaf. So that is mimosa pudica. Okay, so that is thigmonastic movement. That is in response to touch-me-not plant. Okay, and now we will move on to the next one. Photonasty. So what is this? When the non-directional movement of a plant is in response to light, it is called photonasty. So you know that photo meaning anything related to light. So when the non-directional movement of a plant part is usually in response to light, it is called photonasty, like the opening and closing of the dandelion flower. So this is the dandelion flower. When the sun rises, it opens, and as soon as the sun sets, it closes. So it is in response to the light intensity. So when it is in the evening time, when the sun is setting gradually, the flowers, they start folding their petals. So that is the opening and the closing of dandelion flower in response to light is the photonastic movement. Okay, in response to the light intensity. So what is the main difference between the tropic movement and the nastic movement? Now tropic movement, they are actually directional. So they are moving towards the direction of the stimulus. We have seen that the roots are moving to the direction of water. They are moving towards the center of the earth. The shoot is moving away from the water, or the root is moving away from the light. So positive phototropism, negative phototropism, positive and negative hydrotropism and all. We have seen that all the types of tropic movement are directional, whereas the nastic movement is non-directional. It doesn't depend on the direction. It is a non-directional movement. So this is all for today's lesson on chemical coordination of plants. I have completed the lesson in both the classes. So in the first part we have told about the plant growth regulators, and in the second part we have spoken about the types of movement. So please go through both the lessons, and if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel for the upcoming interesting lessons which I am going to post and as per your curriculum. So stay tuned, stay updated with all my lessons, and please go through your textbook, whichever book you are following. Please don't forget to share my videos also. Thank you.